This is Animon Deep Dives, where I'll be discussing the creative process behind each design I've come up with, as well as discussing lore, abilities, and possible movesets. Spoiler warning to anyone who isn't caught up with the manga or hasn't seen the series yet. Now let's dive right in. In today's deep dive, we're taking a look at Himiko Toga's first Pokemon stage, Vampirow. I think Toga's line is one of my favorites that I've designed. It really looks like it could be a Pokemon, and I think I did a pretty good job of portraying her character. So let's talk about Vampirow. Funny story, when I first came up with the concept for this Pokemon, I believe I was watching a YouTube video about crazy and unique animals, and in that video they talked about vampire finches, a small bird from the Galapagos Islands that has evolved this habit of pecking larger animals, specifically the Nazca. Yes, I know it has a different name. No, I'm not gonna say it. The finches will peck until they draw blood, which they will then drink as a dietary supplement. I guess when you're low on your usual seed and bug supply, nothing like a little animal juice to fill in those missing calories, huh? So when I learned about this bird with this oddly specific quirk, I thought that they would be a great concept for Toga's Pokemon, especially because in her early childhood, she has an association with small birds, specifically drinking their blood. So what better animal to represent her than a blood-sucking bird? As for the name, a few of you got the reference. Vampiro is vampire and sparrow, but the way I phrased it makes it sound like the Spanish word vampiro, which means vampire. And yes, I know the bird she's based on is technically a finch, but in the anime she's depicted drinking the blood of a sparrow, so it works out. Design-wise, it's pretty simple. It's a small sparrow-looking bird, and I made it the color of Toga's hair. I also wanted to give it the messy hair look that Toga has with her little buns, and the hairs that are kind of all over the place. But I thought a bun looked kind of silly, so I just put a couple loose feathers to make it resemble her hair. The tail feathers are kind of sharp and pointy to foreshadow the later evolutions. I also gave it sharp claws to represent the daggers she later uses to cut people with, and I made the beak much larger than a regular sparrow because I really wanted it to be the focal point, since her whole thing is drinking people's blood, and the vampire finch uses its sharp beak to stab into other animals to drink their blood. I added the red coloring at the tip to further emphasize that blood drinking habit, and for the final touch, I thought it would be cute to just give it a little red marking around its neck, resembling kind of a bow like Toga's school uniform. For its shiny, I wanted it to have a more sinister look, so I darkened the colors, gave it piercing red eyes, as well as red claws to represent bloody knives, and a white beak to further emphasize the bloody red tip. Okay, time for stats, moves, and abilities. For stats, I would say this Pokemon would have an above average speed stat, since Toga is a pretty agile person. I think it would also have a slightly higher attack stat, since it uses its beak and sharp claws for attacking and drawing blood from other opponents. Moves would be pretty basic. You can have things like peck and scratch, and it being dark type, it means it would also have a lot of dark moves like bite, feint attack, and thief. I think it should also have a signature move I call Blood Drain, a dark type move that works just like Leech Life. The user bites down on the opponent and draws its blood, inflicting damage on the target while simultaneously restoring the health of the user. And yes, I could just give it Leech Seed, but I think it's more appropriate to give it a move that's dark type. As for abilities, I think Rival would be a good fit for this Pokemon, since it boosts the power of the Pokemon when facing an enemy of the same gender. And since this Pokemon would likely be 100% female, it makes sense for it to have a rivalry with other female Pokemon, since Toga in the anime becomes very attached to people she loves and displays almost territorial traits. I don't want to give this Pokemon stage any abilities relating to Toga's quirk because this stage is supposed to represent her early stages of life, and at this point, she wasn't drinking blood to copy people's quirks. She was just doing it out of pure enjoyment. If you guys think of another ability this Pokemon could have, leave a comment down below. And there we go, that's Toga's first Pokemon stage, Vampirow, a small dark type bird Pokemon with an incredibly sharp beak that enjoys drawing blood of others. It is known for becoming very attached and obsessive to the point where it will stalk whoever it is attached to, eventually succumbing to its compulsive needs of drawing blood and pecking their prey to death. Let me know your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like the video and follow for more Pokemon anime content. See you next time.